you. So the VPs of the company, you can walk up and ask them questions. If you have anything, you can walk over to the kitchen, which is fully stocked, which is nice to motivate you to stay for those long hours. But you can have conversations with anyone, and I guess the big thing is I wanted a place to grow every day, that I'm not sitting being bored at a desk. We are talking on the phone, answering emails, giving presentations, communicating with everyone at all times. There's always companies within the office. While I was there, I think I met the president of the VP, both of the VP, I guess. I met them the other day when I was in the office, and people are always surrounded, and so I think that was a cool thing. And then going off of the rating, that's something that you can kind of get feedback all the time. I knew that I wanted to grow within a company, and so that was just an opportunity to see what my strengths and weaknesses were. And even as an intern, we kind of had an opportunity to meet with our supervisors and kind of talk about where we could improve and what strengths we had there. So.
No, I think that's a good point, because monthly feedback, quick feedback. We all like feedback, right? How we doing? And those scores would give that written monthly feedback. So in many companies I've worked for in the past as well, you might get an annual review. We might get one twice a year, but we actually give you a monthly review. So you always know where you stand. And for us, our clients are so big, if something goes wrong, it could be horrific. So our margin of error is pretty tight. All right. So that's one primary reason. I think that's another reason or another thing that guides the culture. But little things like, the doors. Making sure no closed doors unless it's crucial. The kitchen is loaded up with food and drinks that you wouldn't believe. We have the taxi rule. So the taxi rule, as an employee, that you can, if you've been out drinking, you can take a taxi, keep your receipt, the company will pay for it. Not only get you home, but to go get your car the next morning. Okay? Because here's how we look at it. For one, we don't encourage that behavior, but it happens. And that's okay, once in a while. But we don't want anybody to take a risk. Okay? So, the message to our employees is, this is peanuts in the big scheme of things. We want you safe.
Joe, can I ask a question for clarification?
Yes.
When you said you rated your employees, one was like results, I assume, right? Their performance and results.
Yeah.
And the other thing you said team was that style behavior. Is that what you meant by that? How they work with others?
Yeah, that's
Could you comment more on? I'm not sure. People may have thought individual comp and team compensation. You meant results and behavior.
That's exactly right. Thank you. Yes. So you're at the end. The person's compensation is 2 scores. One is their individual contribution to the company. Okay. Maybe you're the person picking up the phone, driving new business. Maybe you're the person knocking out the progress reports and the spreadsheets, just mowing through the work. But on the other side, you get a team score, and this comes down to how well you work with others. You might be in a cluster. Maybe you're on the ConocoPhillips team. Maybe you're on the Chevron team. And your buddy is drowning, and you are the first one to jump in and save him. You're like, look, I got it. Don't worry. I can save the extra hour, knock that out. I know we got to get this done in the morning. We got to get these 6 presentations done before tonight, before Joe leaves for Calgary, or whatever it is. And you're in there standing, you're helping that team. That's that team score. So again, it's so important and vital to our company how we game tackle this work. Even little things. We use the word we don't say I or mine or me. That is typically a kiss of death. So, but that's how we're compensated. And then the pools for each one of those, or the pool for the individual compensation, the person's compensation, is discretionary. based on what the collections are for that given month, and their tenure, and their score, okay, for each. Yes?
Have you found it to be a struggle to find employees that meet it, that line up with the type of culture that you want to have within your company? Do you have a hard time finding people that can stay along that guideline and be someone that's open enough to be in that kind of culture?
It's easier now than it used to be. I think partly we do a better job early of setting the expectation. We go through a series of informational sessions, not only with management, but with their future peer groups. Very transparent on what the expectation is. That has helped a lot. Because a lot of people say in the interview process, I'm checking out. Look, don't look for me to be here 10 hours a day. I don't want to be scored on team contribution. I want to be the sales guy, you know, 1 for 1, kill 'em and eat 'em. And that's okay. You can still be that in our organization, but you have to also be that team leader. So that's a good question, but that is becoming easier and easier. And I think partly the exciting thing is because of our growth, or people are getting new challenges even earlier. So you might be there, you know, a year, and you might be giving a presentation, you know, to someone in Houston or where have you, a major corporation. And then it's your responsibility to execute in this implementation. Yes?
I want to go back to the global expansion thing. You mentioned that you're looking for a big partner and then you expand in that country. But like what I noticed, there are English-speaking countries, developed countries. How do you see ISN going to third world countries or like China, Brazil, India, like where technically more you have a bigger opportunity, like of customers there?
Yeah, it's that's an exact challenge that we're facing right now. It's a good problem. I was in China 3 times last year with a company that has, it's a governmental company, but they were doing some joint ventures with some American and Canadian companies. The company's called CNOC. And absolutely it has to be in Chinese. So that's a challenge that we have to figure out. Now on the website is one thing to translate, but to have support mechanism in place, not only from customer service, but from account management, and then also an expansion is another. So you're talking about a tremendous ramp up. We're still talking to them, so that may happen, but it's going to take some time. We were in Argentina, the same thing. For us, we also have to have that resolve from those companies to force the requirement of compliance. Okay. In some of the companies, in some of the countries, you get a mix of that, you know, depending on the company and their resolve. Now, with our entree into the UK, to think that we're going to be isolated only on the island of the UK is naive. In one of our meetings, when we were over there last month, was with Shell Pipeline. Well, the pipelines run throughout Europe, and contractors that speak multi-languages work on it. So we're actually right in the middle of that. But I think there's a way. We're talking about setting up support mechanisms in Eastern Europe. Safety professionals provide the verification that we need, but also customer service to be able to handle the different languages. And then we would put people in, our homegrown people, move them there to operate the facility and hire locally. Okay. Yes?
All of the tactics that you mentioned are very entrepreneurial. You say your company's internally entrepreneurial oriented. So what exactly happened between when you graduated and the last 9 years when that started to encourage that?
What for me personally happened? Well, I think, you know, we worked for other companies beforehand, and, you know, if I had a crystal ball, we would have started this sooner. But I don't think we would have had the know-how or the vision to do this unless we had worked for these larger corporations, quite frankly. I think we were always kind of built that way. I mean, I can't speak for Bill, but I think for myself, we just knew that, I just knew, for me, I was honored to get a job at a company, I worked for a company called Entergy, which is a huge power company based in New Orleans. I was honored to be there. Great people. But after a while, I knew that I was going to maybe be sitting in that same seat for the next 25 years. Now, maybe not. Maybe I would have moved to the ranks and done different things. And I was kind of on that pattern. But I think I'm too impatient. Yeah. And you know, but you can still be entrepreneurial and stay in those large organizations. And to say that you have to go swing for the fence every time, I think would be naive. So
The grading system or the direct compensation grading
yeah.
system, all of the internal processes that you had to uphold your company culture, where did you get those things? The original ideas, did you look at other companies?
Kind of all the above. You know, Bill brought some, I brought some, and we come up with some. I know that's a generic answer for you, but it truly is. And we tried things that we thought, oh, well, I did this at Entergy, and guess what? Don't do that anymore. That's not going to work. Bill's brought things from a consulting background. We thought that would work. Didn't work. So you got to keep trying. I think that's the thing that I hear most often from our employees is our willingness to make a change. And not be jerky about it, but to think it through and then make the change and get on your way and make a decision. I think so many times, you know, there's a great story about even know what a Walkman is? Yeah. Okay. Well, a Walkman, I mean, you know, when the Walkmans came out, early 80s. So you had every electronics company, every country trying to dominate this market, right? Well, the Americans had, you know, they were going to make a perfect Walkman. They had a laboratory, and they're going over it. I think it needs to be this way, and I think this is what the consumers want. The Germans, no, they're in the laboratory, and they think, no, we think it's going to be this way. Well, guess what the Japanese do? They just built 7 of them and put them out in the market. And one of them started selling. They took the other 6 off the market, tripled down on the one that sold, and then they owned the market. And the Americans and Germans were still in the laboratory. Okay? That's a true story. So you think about it, at some point you got to get off center and try. Right. How are we on time?
Do you have any final words for us?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about this. We have a lot of students at some point are going to interview for jobs. Could you just give your perspective on what you look for, and particularly interest in your thoughts about the grades versus the activities that you look for when you hire someone from college? What do you look for?
You know, that's a moving scale. So we like a balance. I particularly like someone that's worked, you know, even if it's part-time or at least during the summers. For us, you know, we would, you know, a 3-point or higher. Typically, we like to be higher than that, but if they have several activities and are working through, then that can be justified. In the interview process, we like people that aren't rigid, that don't come up and show up with the standard answers. Someone can think, someone that asks pertinent questions. I can't tell you how many people we interview where it's just like, what's going on? And then when somebody walks in, has thoughtful answers, thoughtful questions, it's like, this is it. And I want to tell you something. is that we typically will make a decision within the first 3 minutes of the interview. Okay? Now, I'm not saying a decision to hire them, but a decision to bring them back for another interview. So, you ready? Don't be nervous. What's the worst case? You don't get the job, at least you try.